to Talk 90s to Me, where we like to burst into our friend's apartment like a child skidding across a wedding dance floor, where we get with very attractive women, despite our curly mullet, where our mother and our father drives us mental, and we take extreme revenge on the soup Nazi, all to the sound of an appalling slap-bass soundtrack. Yes, this week, we are talking about Seinfeld, one of the biggest sitcoms of the 90s and indeed of all time. And I'm very happy to be discussing the travails of Jerry, George, Kramer and Elaine with comedians Milo Edwards and Phoebe Roy. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi. You are both far too young to have seen Seinfeld the first time round, I have to say.
I'm not.
Oh, you're looking good.
Phoebe's just ageless.
She is ageless. I'm very, very impressed. So look, how did you come across it? I can remember coming across it in the 90s because it was scheduled at the same time as Larry Sanders.
Yeah. I started watching it for the first time. My dad was away for work and he was watching it on a hotel TV.
Yeah.
And then it started being shown on BBC Two. This was in the mid-90s, I suppose. It started being shown on BBC Two. And it was always shown on a really weird time.
Yeah, quite late.
Yeah. So, but not only late, they would change the time that it was on.
Yeah.
Every week, they would show
You had
them.
to like chase Seinfeld.
Yeah,
You had to
exactly.
check it.
Yeah. No, it was like there was a sort
It's
of
like an illegal rave. Like
was
you
like
find
an
out what
illegal
time
rave.
Seinfeld's going to be on
Yeah.
2
The
hours
flyers.
before.
It was less like an illegal rave and more like a pirate radio station. Like you had you had to know, you had to be like waiting, just being like,
Is it on?
is it going to be on?
Mm.
Is it going to be on at 11:30? Is it going to be on long?
But it was always really
at
late,
11
which
o'clock.
is really good.
Always really late. They showed them completely out of order.
Yeah.
And so we, as a family, recorded them all on VHS.
That's so good.
And some years later, I was in what my parents call a fun phase of my teens.
Yeah.
I think I was supposed to be revising for exams or something, and I was just sort of either getting underfoot or just disappearing for hours, if not days on end, and they couldn't work out which they preferred. And so they gave me this task of cataloguing all of our Seinfeld VHSs and writing little descriptions of them. They bribed me with something, I can't remember what.
And very timely too. Like the sort of like the early 2000s, a great time to be embarking on cataloguing all your VHS.
And
taped off the TV as well, not even like purchased.
Oh, yeah. And of course, they were all completely out of order. So it wasn't until some years later that I got a sense of what the story arcs were.
Yeah, they were kind. I mean,
There's sort of
What's
work
that story
to
arcs?
it.
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent,
It's like Seinfeld Memento.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's what this tattoo is.
Just to get it all in order. What I remember about it was, other than really loving it, was that fact that it was on really late at night. I found telly really hard to watch in the 90s because I was out a lot. And so, like,
Oy.
I couldn't, like, some people were, like, watching Friends and stuff, and I was like, it's literally, I can't watch Friends. It's never, I don't like it, and it's on at the wrong time.
If you remember Friends from the 90s, you weren't really watching it.
You weren't really watching it. But Seinfeld really suited me because it was on at that time. It was on with Larry Sanders, and it seemed to me to be quite exotic. Like, it was a sitcom about a life that wasn't mine, but that you could relate to, because it wasn't, even though they were aspirational in one way, they weren't completely aspirational because they were quite horrible. And they succeeded in some way and failed in absolutely loads of other ways. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They were kind of like, and their conversations were just like normal conversations, but funny.
We kind of said this when we were doing the podcast about Seinfeld, that actually the friend group in Seinfeld was the closest representation of like what our actual friendship circle was like that we'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Like a sort of like a friendship circle of people who are either all really nice or all really like consistently successful. Like you get the sort of friends or whatever, we're like, no, that doesn't, I'm like, people who are kind of funny but in a horrible way and are always up to stuff where you're like, you shouldn't be doing that. I was like, I feel seen by this. Yeah.
Yes, exactly that. So look, I'm going to give you a bit of history, which I'm sure you know. So it's essentially the creation of Jerry Seinfeld, who was a pretty successful stand-up comedian, and Larry David, who'd been working in comedy with kind of a success. And they knew each other. They met at a birthday party, and they decided, okay, well, this might be a good idea to, make a kind of sitcom. And it was based on Jerry. And it was called, the first time they wrote it was called Stand Up. They had lots of different other titles. And then eventually they settled on the Seinfeld Chronicles. And it came out in 1989, and it wasn't that good. It did have Kramer and George in it. It didn't have Elaine in it. George wasn't really himself. He was quite kind.
He was off his seeds in 1989.
It was kind of really weird.
Yeah.
And Kramer wasn't called Kramer, he was called Kessler. And the ratings were absolutely terrible. And the test, I wrote down what the actual test audience said because it really kind of cheered me up. No segment of the audience was eager to watch the show again. Jerry Seinfeld, who's a familiar to about a quarter of the viewers, created on balance lukewarm reactions amongst adults and teens and very low reactions amongst kids. None of the supports were liked. It was like completely...
Sounds like a review of my Edinburgh shows.
It's quite cruel and completely slated. They were like, this is rubbish. No way is this going to happen. And then what happened was Bob Hope was meant to have a special. It was like 2 hours long. And that, for some reason, was pulled. So they had 4 half-an hours that they could do. And that's where they kind of created what they wanted. But essentially what they wanted was a combination of Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David. That's what the show is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Larry David is George.
Yeah.
We can see that.
It feels so of its time in that way where like you can't imagine something now like getting a sitcom and it having crap ratings and then it being given another go.
That doesn't happen now.
No. And that, I mean, I have to say it nearly didn't happen. But yeah, the idea that somebody might be able to sneak it on somehow, that's just, I mean, that's just beyond our ken now. That just doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah, no, nothing's given a chance to warm up.
And when they found Jason Alexander, who played George, he didn't think he's like this kind of Broadway actor. He didn't think he was going to get it. And he played it as Woody Allen. Do you know this?
No,
so he
I
turned
didn't.
up, right? And he read the script and they had loads of other people.
He wasn't even the one going out with a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I know, exactly. We'll get to that. But like, so they had this script, they handed it out to various people. They cast Kramer really quickly. And obviously Jerry Seinfeld. And they had this character, which was George. And they tried loads of it. They tried Steve Buscemi. They tried Chris Rock.
Wow.
Don't you think that's mad?
I knew that about Chris Rock. I didn't know that about Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. Really
It
odd.
would be a very different show,
I think you
with
can see
Steve
Steve
Buscemi in it.
Buscemi a bit.
I can sort of see it, but I think it would be sort of straying into kind of Twin Peaks territory with Steve Buscemi. As,
there'd be
as George,
something
I think.
strange about it, right?
Yeah, something a little uncanny, a little bit like, that guy looks like he's about to lick his own eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And they tried Danny DeVito.
Wow.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked.
That wouldn't have worked. No.
Well, and at the other end of the scale, like Chris Rock's like too likable.
Yeah.
To be Costanza. Like Chris Rock is too...
He's too
like...
sexy and fun. Like, what is like, that would have been terrible. It would have been
I
absolutely
didn't realise
awful.
I was coming to the Chris Rock fan club meeting.
Well, that's afterwards, but we are warming up.
He's just so likeable and sexy.
Yeah, Phoebe hates him.
Well, I mean,
that's okay. So when Jason Alexander does it, he reads the thing and he plays it as Woody Allen. Like he literally puts specs on. He plays his whole audition as Woody Allen, and because he thinks it's a really Jewish New York thing. Like he thinks of it, that's the script. And that Larry David just gave him one note because he sussed him and just went, just take the Woody Allen out of it and you'll be really good. And they thought he was great and they thought he was really brilliant. But as he's playing it, so they start doing the first few episodes and he's like, I really can't get to grips with this character. This character's really like difficult and dislikable, whatever. And then he asks him about a motivation in a scene, Larry David, because he's like, I just don't understand why anyone would react like this. And Larry David was like, well, of course they would. It's me. Like, this happened to me. And he thought, oh, it's you. I have to play you. So all the way through, he's kind of playing Larry David. I think that's so mad.
Yeah, and I think that's some of the way why like Curb is such a spiritual successor to Seinfeld because it is just it's like Costanza on tour.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's like unadulterated Costanza. Seinfeld is homeopathic Costanza. This is the original.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
Small dosage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then obviously Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's like basically the daughter of a billionaire, she becomes Elaine. And there was because when they did the pilot, there was like a woman who was like played like a cafe waitress and they think, no, we need more, they did think, oh, maybe we need a woman in there. So they put Julia in. I mean, I think without any of them, it wouldn't work, but especially without Elaine, nothing would work in that show. She's kind of amazing, isn't she?
She's absolutely load-bearing. And she also is the one who so clearly has created her own character. So yeah, she's given the script, But Elaine is all JLD. We're very pro JLD, aren't we?
We are very
Sounds
pro
like-
JLD.
Me too. I love
I
her.
love her, yeah.
I love her.
Artistically, aesthetically.
Artistically, aesthetically, sexually, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ambitiously.
Mm.
She says she's so successful. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Some time ago with an ex-girlfriend, I was watching Veep. And at a certain point, I was banned from saying, she still looks good, doesn't she? She's like, you can't say that more than once an episode.
You're not allowed to do that.
She does. She
She
looks
does,
amazing.
She does look amazing.
I think that was the problem, to be honest.
That was the issue.
I think if it had just been like, I was being nice.
Yeah, if she hadn't looked amazing, everything would have been
I don't think it would
fine.
have been an issue.
You know what's amazing about her? Because obviously, if you think about the four people that are in Seinfeld, we have Jerry, who is obviously the most dislikable character by miles, I have to say. And his performance is the weakest.
Yeah.
We can say that, can't we?
Oh, yeah, he can't act.
And he's the
God bless
the
him.
least relatable as well.
Yeah, he is. And also because the thing I find weird about Jerry Seinfeld, I mean, obviously he's an amazing comedian, but in that show, because it's obviously done in front of a live audience, and there's something about him as a comedian that can't help playing it to that. You feel like he was almost mugging to the audience sometimes, you know, when he kind of corpses.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas the others are playing it as character actors.
Yeah.
And he's just a bit like, like I've just said that, and amn't I funny? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can see him smirking all the way through.
The comedian's burden. You can't help. They put you in front of an audience.
Yeah.
It's like sniffing a dog's ass, you know. I mean, if you were a dog, not if you were a comedian.
Could be funny.
To be clear.
Just to be clear. So like, I don't like sniffing a dog's ass. That's what another dog would do.
Yeah.
But it is making people laugh to a comedian is like what sniffing a dog's ass would be to a dog. Yeah.
But that's the bit that it's the only bit in that show that loses me. It's that bit where you feel like he's playing it and then waiting for everybody to love him. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you must, like, as comedians, you understand that desire, but you should have been able to rein it in, no?
Well, I think the problem with Seinfeld is he actually can't act.
Yeah.
So he's doing there is the temptation to go for the laugh, but there's also the sense of like, well, he has nothing else to fall back on. But this is still the thing with being a comedian now is like, whenever you deal with like the comedy industry, they're constantly like, do you want to do this thing? And it's always not being a comedian. It's always like being a sitcom or if you're lucky. Whatever. And then you're like, oh, I didn't really train to be an actor, actually. And so you're putting me in a room with some actors and then you're kind of expecting me to keep up with them. But I didn't go to drama school. So I'm like, I'll give it a go. And I think he's found himself in that position where like everyone else is a trained actor. And he's like, aha.
Yeah, the comedy industry is basically like kind of partially failed transplant surgery, like everyone just being reject the new liver or whatever.
You've got like comedians making documentaries in war zones and stuff, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's not right.
They're
You definitely shouldn't be doing that.
leaving for the applause breaks. Like,
Winking.
They can't help it. They can't help it. They're like,
Mugging to the Wagner group.
But he's that, and if you think about like, so obviously Kramer, who's Michael Richards, he's like an amazing, he's really funny anyway, but he's an amazing physical comedian, like absolutely astonishing. And then you've got George, who is like Jason Alexander, who's a great kind of actor and stuff like that. And then you've got Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's like all of that.
Yeah.
Like she's really funny. I'm sure have you seen that episode where she dances really badly?
Yeah. We've seen.
Oh my God.
Together we have seen every episode.
Yeah.
Or I've seen every episode several times. This was the original conceit of our show, which was that Milo had never seen it and I'd seen it multiple times. And we were just going to watch it every episode with Milo watching it for the first time. And it was really fun. It was a really fun thing for me to do.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
And fun thing for you. Did you feel like you were learning?
To some extent, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, like, because I think unlike something like Friends, which is actually a bit newer, it stands the test of time much better because the jokes are better and it's a better conceit. The characters are better. The performances are better, I think. But just occasionally when you're watching a Seinfeld episode, you'll be like reminded of how old it is. Like there'll be, like so many episodes, it'll be like some insane situation that like Jerry or George got themselves into, and you're like, well, this could happen now. And then occasionally like an entire episode will revolve around like the callback function on a payphone. And you're like, it's so mad to imagine a world where this was like entirely relatable. And like, I'm old enough to remember payphones, but like the idea of like payphones being like such a mainstay of day-to-day life, and like, because of the way the episode is pitched, it almost feels like satire of a 90s sitcom, because they're constantly doing like payphones, which we all use every day, of course. We all know the biggest struggle in life is finding a payphone. So that occasionally there'll be something where you're like, this was filmed in 1992. But then most of the time I think it's quite immersive because it's very like character driven.
Yeah, and it is of that time. That bit where the episode I was thinking of is where she dances at work Elaine. Oh my God. Because it's really hard to describe how funny it is, isn't it? I mean, that's the point of physical comedy. It's the point of comedy in anything. But she's basically does a speech at her work still, and she's like entirely in control. She's really great. She's holding champagne. Everyone thinks she's brilliant. And then she starts dancing. And the way that she dances is so extraordinary. I can't really describe it. She's got like a little kick. It's like she's having a kind of stroke on one side. Do you know what I mean? And she throws her head back. It's really odd, like she's a kid pretending to be a dinosaur or something. And everybody just turns against her. It's an amazing bit of work, isn't it?
It's actually surprisingly difficult to do a funny dance because it's so easy to get in your head and just think, I don't want people to think this is actually how I dance.
Yeah, like bottle it.
Yeah. It's so easy to bottle the funny
when you've
dance.
got to not over-egg it as well. It has to be like plausible.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, honestly, I think that there are very few genuinely funny dancers. I think everyone thinks that they've got a funny dance available, but actually when it comes to it,
not like that. That is
exceptional. This is an exceptional funny dance.
Well, there's that Michael Caine quote about acting that I think about a lot, where he's like, too many people are trying to play someone drunk, pretend to be drunk, whereas someone who's drunk is pretending to be sober.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's the same thing with like, if you're doing a bad dance, like someone who's dancing badly is trying to dance well, but they're doing it badly. And so you have to embody that idea. Whereas if you're trying to dance badly, you're not really inhabiting the character of someone who is dancing badly, because that's not what they're doing.
Yeah, because she thinks she's quite cool when she's doing it. That's why she's doing it, isn't it? She's like, hey, I'm leading everybody in because I can dance really well. Yeah. And it's just this terrible thing. When you were watching Seinfeld bit by bit then, did you come in with a kind of, because I think it's quite weird because we both really like Seinfeld, and it's actually a bit of a comfort watch for me. Me too. Because I knew it when I was younger. You just watch it, the character's fine. When you came into it as somebody who'd not watched it, what was the things that surprised you most about it?
I think probably how current it felt a lot of the time, and like the way that actually the jokes kind of held up. Because also, full disclosure here, I in general am not a fan of American sitcoms and American comedy. I tend to find it, very kind of like superficial and not very good. But I think that, there are a few exceptions to this. And Seinfeld is one of them. It is a bit dated in some ways. And I think it suffers a bit from the same thing of like Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up, I think, where because it was doing a lot of this stuff for the first time, that has become very cliched because other things have copied it. It's hard to watch it without that baggage and be like, when they did this, it was actually quite innovative, but now you've seen it like 4 billion times. And almost a lot of the time when you're watching Seinfeld for the first time, you're suddenly realising what all of these things are referencing.
Yeah.
Because these things from Seinfeld have almost become a joke, like going on about the peanuts on an aeroplane or whatever, like to the point of like, you almost can't believe there is actually an original thing it's referring to.
Yeah.
And then you see it and you're like, it's like the Rosetta Stone of like, you've seen all these like simulacra of Seinfeld, and then you're like, that's what they're all on about. I see.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most powerful thing, is that sense of like, this is kind of like some sort of like foundational text of like the Iliad or something, but for sitcoms.
True Seinfeld has never been tried. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Seinfeld was meant to be tried in a sort of like complex industrialized economy, whereas it's only ever been imposed on sort of basically feudal states.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's interesting though as well, because I mean, when you said that, it's like the origin story for a lot of things. It's mostly the origin story for being able to make comedy about nothing at all. That's the point of it, isn't it? So like, it's not like they're in a funny situation, but it's not. It's like an everyday situation.
Yeah,
like the soup Nazi. There's somebody who makes really brilliant soup in the neighborhood, but he's really obstreperous. And so the only way of getting the soup is you have to order it in a very particular way, and you have to offer it and be really straight, and then you have to shuffle along. And if you do that wrong, then you don't get the soup. That sounds like nothing. Like, even when I say it, it doesn't sound like funny.
Well, it was just such an incredible sentence. There's a man who makes soup, but he's really obstreperous. I got such a window into your world there, Miranda.
How dare he be obstreperous when he makes soup?
I hate the obstreperous soup man.
But they all hate the obstreperous soup man. But it's like a kind of such a small thing.
Yeah.
That, and then there's a whole show about it. Like, there's a whole show about it, and Elaine loses her mind and brings him down. Do you know what I mean? It's like that kind of littleness of everything. You know, you can see that now in everything, like for the royal family or whatever. They were really worried about that when it first came out. They just thought nobody is going to relate to it at all. It's kind of amazing.
I think part of what is so good about it as a sitcom is not even necessarily the A plots or even the B plots. It's the conversations that they have amongst themselves, which are nothing to do with the overarching plot of the episode. And like my absolute favourite lines from Seinfeld come from these conversations.
Yeah, like 1 minute at the start.
Yeah, like there's one episode when we discover that George has this kind of long-running beef with musicians, just as a whole. And he says, yeah, you think you're not like one of those hit musicians with their complicated shoes. And this just gives you this kind of incredible window. It's like kind of pulling the camera out, and you just see this rich world and this rich backstory of this man, and like what has happened to him, what has happened to him, what was the encounter,
what musicians
with the hit musician,
what are those shoes,
with the what do you mean by complicated shoes? What is a complicated shoe? And it's like this kind of entire world just in like one offhand sentence, and it's nothing to do with the plot. I simply love that.
Me too, because that's also like how we all talk. So with your friends, you'll have like a phrase that somebody will have once said, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then you'll just keep saying it. Do you know what I mean? You'll know what that phrase is. Like, I can imagine using complicated shoes, like in all occasions.
Oh yeah.
That's an incredibly useful thing. You would use it.
And all the best sitcoms have that, I think. Like that's such a feature of like Alan Partridge as well, if you can call that a sitcom, where it just be constantly just like, oh, Bill Oddie called for you. Oh, he's always ringing, never calls back. Like that, like just like Bill Oddie never appears. There's never any discussion of what the relationship is. Just periodically he'll just be mentioned and then it will move on. And I think that is that world building of just like, oh, there's something going on there that you'll never fully understand.
I would go so far as to say that is wrong. That is what is wrong with most modern sitcoms in the last however long, that everything has to be geared towards
the plot.
The plot, everything has to be. If you ever work with a script editor, it's always like, well, how is this advancing the plot? It's like, well, it's not. It's funny. It's there because it's funny.
Yeah, people aren't watching it
because it's a comedy. So it's got jokes in it.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to be like, what are you trying to say here? I'm trying to be funny. That's what I'm.
That's my joke.
And that's the I think this is the problem with comedy in general, because there's nothing more embarrassing than being in public and being like, I think I'm funny. Do you agree?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah,
do you agree?
You're putting yourself out there, aren't you?
Do you like me?
Yeah.
Do you like me and think I'm funny? Which is a thing that most people want to be. Am I funny? And this is why it's quite nice being behind a script or behind a podcast microphone, because I am protected. I'm protected from unwanted information in that way.
When you're talking about that, there was a really early episode in Seinfeld, which is about them. They're basically, it doesn't have Kramer in, because initially Kramer never left the flat.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just always in the flat, wasn't he? But there's one, and it's about a Chinese restaurant, and they just sit in the Chinese restaurant and they're kind of waiting to be served. And when they did that show, when it was written, it was really early on before it was a success, and they offered it to, obviously the big producers read it, and they were a bit like, is there not another page? Like, is there not a page for this? And they went to see them and said, we don't want to be rude, but, we're kind of fighting a battle here to keep you on the air. What the fuck is this? And obviously Larry David, who was incredibly sensitive and was constantly nearly flouncing at all times, was like, well, this is funny. What are you talking about? It's just really funny. And then when they brought it out, like, it is really funny. And it was like reviewed by critics as like, this is like the new Waiting for Godot. Like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
because it was funny.
Yeah. Waiting for Godot in a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
ironically, you never wait in a Chinese restaurant, do you?
Yeah. Exactly. It's weird.
There's never a more brusque service.
Well, you did in the 90s.
Yeah, you did
They were
in the
more
90s.
leisurely in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In general, everything was more leisurely.
When you said that you watched everything in order, having not watched it in order.
Yeah.
Since then I have seen it in order. It's just I hadn't seen it in order.
But I quite like that. I think that's correct.
Until I got it all on DVD.
But I think the chaotic way is the correct
You've
way.
seen the Tarantino cut. Of
Yeah.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly. All over the plot.
I've seen the Nolan cut
Yeah.
every so often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One episode's going forwards, another one's going backwards.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And when you put it in order,
Mhm.
because I don't think I've ever seen it in order. I think I've watched it exactly the same as you. So just ones that I like come up and I think, it's that one. I'll click on that.
Yeah.
So what are the arcs? I was like, when you were saying, I was thinking, is there an arc? Because I haven't noticed.
There are more story arcs than you'd maybe think. So there's the season where George starts engaged, and at the end, Susan dies
From licking envelopes.
There's the season where they're
tackling the big issues there.
They really are.
They really are. Well, I mean, I always check.
400 Americans die every year from poisoned envelopes.
Well, I have a special person who licks my envelopes for me first.
Like an ancient Near Eastern king.
Yes.
Yeah, like Trump.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trump with his McDonald's, and you're the same with that with your...
Yeah,
with your
exactly.
envelopes.
I've got a guy who licks my envelopes. Jared licks my envelopes. I say, good boy, Jared.
Doesn't lick my envelopes, he tests my envelopes. He tests them for poison,
So
and then
you
I
still-
lick them.
How does he test it for poison? Does he not lick it?
Licks it, but only a bit,
So why not have him lick the whole thing?
because I like the taste of envelope glue.
She likes the poison.
That's a little treat for me, and it's a
like-
rare treat these days.
I like the taste of envelope glue. And that's the sort of thing you might get in the first minute of a Seinfeld episode.
It's so true.
Which was very handily demonstrated there.
And what are the other arcs then? So we had George and his fiancée who dies.
There's the
George working for the Yankees.
George working for the Yankees.
Yeah.
That's an amazing episode as well, isn't it?
Well, he worked for them for like a couple of
He
seasons.
worked for them
I
for a
feel
couple
like.
of seasons. When Jerry and George are writing the sitcom together, that's a story arc.
Yeah, the sitcom called Jerry.
Very
meta.
It's very,
Yeah,
between one.
The arcs are very loose, but it does mean that if you watch an episode, like for example, the episode where Susan dies, and you see that before any of the other episodes about the engagement, you are a bit disoriented. Just for a moment there. But it's a kind of fun way of watching them, because it's like, well, it is like being an archaeologist. It's like you get to piece them together, and that's that's sort of enjoyable.
And also the point of them is they don't really develop. Yeah. So like, George might have been engaged for like a whole season, but the whole weirdness of it is she dies and they all just carry on.
Yeah.
They don't even react emotionally. They're just like, oh, well, she was here, now she's gone.
And dies in such an absurd way as well. Like he's bought the envelopes that are so cheap that they're poisonous. And she dies from licking envelope glue.
And it's from their wedding invites or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's like perfect. It's kind of like a Greek tragedy got kicked in the head by a horse. It sort of has this perfect, I don't know how you come up with that.
No, it's quite a twisted mind. But it's just the thing that the end of that episode is almost like the whole sitcom, because they're just all a bit like, oh, well, she was here, now she's not. We're still the same.
Yeah.
And everything carries on.
Well, it's very philosophical, really. It's a very Zen way of approaching the world.
They'll have a sort of Buddha mindset.
Yeah,
the
they
cast
do.
of Seinfeld.
They make the mandala in the ground, and then they sweep it away because everything passes. That's the Seinfeld philosophy.
There's a couple of outside characters that I feel we should mention. Actually, there's just two, and it's George's parents.
Mm-hmm.
I feel we should talk about them.
Yeah.
They are extraordinary.
Perfect characterizations, I think.
Yeah.
I have said on more than one occasion that particularly, well, actually, no, both of them have like significant points of comparison with my parents, and I told them this, and thinking that they would think it was charming, but they did not think it was charming.
I'm not really surprised.
Your dad's quite a bit gentler than Frank, I would say.
He is, yeah. But
I can't imagine him saying, I've got a lot of problems with you people and you're going to hear about it.
Are you serious? You've not seen him around the festive season.
No, okay. He's got issues with the festive season.
He's got issues with the festive season.
If you were going to describe, they're called Frank and Estelle.
Yeah.
Right. If you were going to describe George's parents to somebody who hadn't met them, how would you describe it? Particularly Estelle. I love Estelle.
Estelle is amazing.
Cantankerous, I think.
She is cantankerous, but what I think is so wonderful about Estelle is that she has such a specific set of bees in her bonnet, and they're nothing to do with anybody else. They're a kind of heterogeneous set of characteristics that she just sort of expels.
And they're quite a lot to do with George.
Yeah. That a lot of them are, but some of them are very, very specific. So, for example, there's one episode where George says that his mother has never laughed, and so Jerry wants to make her laugh, and he says, "Mrs. Costanza, do you want to hear a joke?" And she says, "Nah, not interested." And I think that's what reminds me of my mum, actually, who loves jokes, but they have to be on her terms. And she is just constantly on the precipice of just a furious temper, and they are very often out of alignment with the things that make her husband Frank into his own furious state, and also out of alignment with what bothers her son. So these three people, this family, they're on these like parallel but never meeting tracks of fury for the world around them. And every so often they converge and they become a family. And that is just such good comedy writing when this happens. So there's this one episode where they discover that Jerry's parents are trying to avoid going for dinner with them and don't care for them. And this is the point when George becomes embedded in his family because he is a Costanza. He still is a Costanza, and they're talking about it. And as they're talking about it, all three of them at the same time do this kind of hand gesture, like I don't understand what has happened here, and I think that's very beautiful.
Yeah. I was going to say that I think Jerry's parents are such an important key to understanding the Costanzas, in that like Jerry's parents' continuous efforts to get away from the Costanzas.
Yeah,
I think there's something so real about that.
Yeah.
And it explains George as well, doesn't it? Because George is like, obviously, he's normally at odds with his parents, but he is also a kind of person that people want to get away from, and he knows that.
Yeah.
Like and that upsets him. That's like part of his hurt, isn't it? That people don't really like him and they're not attracted to him in the way that Jerry seems to attract people, and or even Elaine. He's not successful. People don't like him. And he's like, why don't you like me? I'm great.
And someone looked at that and thought, Chris Rock.
I know, so weird. Like, what are you actually on about?
Because what the hell? Who doesn't like Chris Rock?
Phoebe. Who doesn't like Chris Rock?
Who doesn't like Chris Rock?
Who doesn't like him?
It's not
Didn't
even
he have a sitcom called Everybody Hates Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like 9
but he was wrong
in it.
Yeah.
They're wrong. They're wrong to hate him because he's wonderful.
Yeah, because he's so great. Yeah, he is so great. So I'm going to give you some stats because that's, part of the thing.
Sure.
So this is an amazingly successful sitcom. It's really hard to understand how successful. Like the finale, which was in 1998, Jerry Seinfeld decides he just can't go on anymore. They've tried to pay him loads of money to continue, and he's like, I don't want to do it. It's 9 seasons. I've had enough. It's the whole of the 90s. I'm done, right? Yeah. And he's done, and when the final show, like 76 million viewers tune in. That's like, I can't conceive of that many people, really. That's just mad.
Yeah.
It's so mad.
It's more than the population of the UK.
It's just nuts. Is it nuts? Are we around that, Matt?
We're about 70, I think.
Yeah, so that's like every single person, including the kids, the dogs, everything, we're just all watching Seinfeld.
The dogs took a break from sniffing each other's asses too.
And there they were, watching Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Curb Your Enthusiasm happens, Veep happens, people kind of carry on. But it was it was completely huge.
And also, you won't see anything like that again, I think.
Yeah,
I remember recently I was watching that documentary about like when snooker was really popular in the 80s. And there was like a point in this country where like 30 million people were watching snooker. And it's like 30 million people don't watch anything now, let alone snooker.
We got colour telly because of the snooker.
Yeah.
We were always black and white, and they were like, my dad, we watched snooker so much, my dad was like, maybe we should get a colour, and then we could actually see what was going on.
It's a tough watching black and white snooker.
Back in those days, but you could tell actually that you could kind of tell the difference.
It's like a joke, isn't it? It's
I know.
He's
My
so
life is a
tight, he
joke.
watches snooker in black and white. Like,
it was like that, exactly like that. I just want to say, I mean, I realise that, we love Seinfeld, but, we embrace all its flaws. Mm-hmm. You did mention this earlier, and I feel like we should perhaps bring this up, that really, throughout much of the time that Seinfeld was on, Jerry Seinfeld was dating a very young woman. So in 1993, he was 39. He met Shoshana Lonstein-Gruss in Central Park. She was 17.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
It's not great.
It's suboptimal.
No.
Yes, exactly. Suboptimal. Yeah. It is quite 90s, I have to say.
Very
unfortunately.
90s. Yeah.
And they were proper boyfriend and girlfriend for 4 years until 97. She said that when they split up, the constant press coverage was really difficult. Also, she went to university she was trying to carry on with her life, and she went to LA to kind of be with Seinfeld as well. And she missed New York City, which I really like her for. Anyway, they split up. That's quite icky, isn't it? It makes me feel a bit icky.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
And also, like, I know a 17-year-old is there. They're approaching adulthood, but you got to wonder where our parents were in all this. Sort of imagine your teenage daughter showing up, being like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend. He's
your age.
He's a comedian.
Yeah.
He's in his 30s," and their parents being like, "Oh, right. What do you mean he's a comedian?"
Yeah. Well, he started a proud
rid of him.
tradition of comedians in their late 30s dating teenage girls, so that's the one thing we do always say about Seinfeld in this, and this isn't really a defense of Seinfeld, but
to be clear, it's not a defense.
But it is.
It's being clear.
But what it is interesting is that Phoebe and I have discussed this many times, and one thing we observed about this is that every man you encounter in like famously or a famous person who likes them a bit young, it tends to be a running theme.
Grey
they tend to do
creep.
it again and again.
Yeah.
Whereas Seinfeld, uniquely among every man I've ever heard of doing this, did it once and then was like, never again, not for me.
No.
Has since dated only women of an approximately appropriate age.
Yeah.
And so it makes it even more curious. You're like, what happened this one time?
Yeah, it is quite odd. I mean, maybe he was, I don't know, I'm not going to give him any excuses. I mean, maybe it was an entire love affair, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's still gross. It's more curious.
Yeah, it makes you go,
to be like, oh, I'm going to date a teenage girl because I'm rich and famous and I can do what I want.
But
and
also,
what I want is to date a teenage girl, and then just be like, well, I've done that now. No need to do it. It's not my proclivity.
Didn't enjoy it actually. Like bungee
didn't
jumping.
enjoy it. But also, I
thought it'd
wonder.
be fun.
I'm glad I did it once, but I'm not
Never
sure
again.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, you know what that is? Meeting teenage girls. Oh, you've met a teenage girl, haven't you? You've been with a teenage girl for 4 years. Well, no, she was only teenage for 2 of those years. But quite hard. They can be quite hard.
Spoken like the mother of a teenage girl.
Yeah, very much so. It's a very odd thing. We'll brush past it because we want to still like Seinfeld. I mean, the program.
Yeah.
Can I ask, the bit that I also find difficult about Seinfeld as a program is the opening bit when it's always the stand-up. What do we think about that?
We used to quite enjoy the bits.
I enjoy the bits.
In a sort of bizarre, because they feel, and I think it's like Seinfeld has created a genre of stand-up comedy that is now, it's now what you do when you're putting on airs of like, oh, I'm taking the piss, but this is how I will portray a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
To the point where you're watching it and you almost can't believe that he's doing it seriously.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to remove the context of the intervening 30 years that have happened. But yeah, the bits are like, some of them, I think, good or bad, we always found something to talk about in the bits.
That's
he has a lot of
true.
peculiar bugbears.
There's a thing I find about the beginning bit with the comedy, which is he's a really successful comedian. I get that. But what's funny, not funny, I mean funny peculiar about it, is that a lot of it, what he says is not that funny because it's about him being likable, which is like that's a whole area of comedy which I'm completely up for. Like there's some people that can just walk on stage and you like them and they can kind of say anything and you're just with them all the time. And with Seinfeld, I just feel like some of those bits, they're just not that funny, but you like him. So you're about, okay, fine, this is how you make your living. I'm not laughing, but they are. Do you know what I mean?
And that's a tradition in American comedy that has continued to this day.
Yeah.
You know, turning up at a gig, saying the name of a town, waiting for applause. And then you sat there as a British comic and you're like, is he going to say anything funny?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Is he going to do any jokes at any point?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny sometimes. I mean, there are like great American comedians who I like, but it's so funny sometimes watching a really arrogant Yank rock up at the Edinburgh Fringe with an hour of observations about what people from Boston are like, and then just watching them eat shit every single day as they're like, I was on Late Night with Seth Meyers, and everyone's like, okay, pal. It's like, oh no, they're waiting for you to be funny.
Yeah.
They're waiting for you to say a joke.
Well, American audiences are on your side. British audiences see you as their opponent.
Yeah, that is very true.
I'm so proud of us.
It's like chess. Yeah.
You better be funny or I'm going to start throwing things.
And that's why the Brits we send over there go insane, because they've adapted to British audiences. So when they get American approval, they think they're God or something. Like happened to Gervais, it happened to James Corden. Like they're out of their minds.
Yeah.
Because people are nice to them.
Yeah.
What's gone wrong?
We don't know how to cope with affability as a people, I think.
Yeah.
If someone's that nice to you in this country, you think you must be Nelson Mandela or something. Like it's, you can't, you're like, well, I must truly be a great man if you're being this nice.
Or you assume they're trying to scam you.
Yeah, that's also possible. They're trying to sell me PVC windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why, the contrast between that, the beginning bit, and then the actual show is the bit. It's kind of amazing to me because the bit, like when he's doing his stand-up, I'm like, but you're really not that funny. And then like they do the show and he's funny in the show as they all are funny in the show. And I'm like, oh, don't bother with the stand-up, mate. This bit's good.
Feels like kind of lulling you into into thinking it's a very particular kind of show.
Yeah.
Which turns out not to be at all.
Because there's also this kind of thing where like they're trying to suggest that he's like a hack.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by hack?
For those who are not familiar with the technical terms of comedy,
everyone listening will be familiar with hack comedy. You might not have heard it referred to as such, but anyone who's turned on the BBC at any point,
you might not know the terminology, but it's like pornography. You know it when you see it.
Yeah.
A hack comedian is somebody who tells very obvious and well-worn jokes.
Paint by numbers stuff.
Stuff that's been done before. Sometimes you could be a very polished hack comedian, and something can really have the shape of a joke, but it's still not a joke. And
then I got off the bus, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that was just the teachers.
Yeah. But then also he is very successful in the show. So he, as a stand-up comedian in the show, he's supposed to be very successful. But there's also, there's the constant implication that like he's not that funny, or that's how it comes across.
Yeah, but as the show progresses, it becomes more and more apparent that particularly his friends have absolutely no respect for his comedy and no respect for his success. So they know he's successful, but he is successful because he plays high-profile clubs and goes on TV and stuff. But I don't think this is the longest running thread in the Seinfeld forums, locked after 100,000 posts or whatever. But I think it is made explicit that Jerry is supposed to be successful but a hack, and the reason that he is so specifically antagonistic to other comedians that he meets along the way, who are occasional bit parts, is that he understands that they are on the same continuum as him. So he understands that they are just unsuccessful hacks, but he knows that they're basically making the same kind of work and doing the same kind of material. So like with Kenny Bania.
Every comedian has a Kenny Bania.
But he knows that he is, Kenny Bania by the light of the moon.
Yeah.
Where Kenny Bania?
He's the where Kenny Bania. He knows it. And this comes up repeatedly. Like there's a bit when he says he's going to do his stand up at his parents' place in Florida.
Yeah.
And his mum says, "New material?"
Ooh.
Yeah, and like one of the neighbors is like, "Oh, we've already seen it. We don't want to see his act." And it comes up from like with all of them, like from time to time, that they just don't have any respect for him as a comedian.
Yeah.
So I think you are not necessarily meant to think he's funny.
So that's maybe why. Yeah. So then that explains the opening bits because they're okay.
Yeah.
But they're not that funny.
You also never see his friends going to see him.
No, they just don't bother.
Yeah.
But that's so realistic, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
absolutely.
100%.
My friends never read a thing I say. Right.
Yeah.
They never listen to any podcast. Like, of course they don't. They're your friends. Why would they bother? Okay, so you went through all of these shows. And look at you. You look quite normal. You've done well.
Well, looks can be deceiving, Miranda, you know, yeah.
What did you feel at the end of the show? Because you can watch a lot of something and come at the end of it and just think, you know what? I'm over it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've done it now. That's it. I'm never going to watch it again. Did you feel like that? Or did you feel like, I do still love it?
Oh, no, I do still love it.
Yeah.
Would you watch it again?
I think I've never really built the relationship with it. Like I like it well enough. I wouldn't like not watch it, but it isn't something that like, it's definitely now it's like a reference point that I will use because so many things are like Seinfeld-esque. Like when it often comes up for me is when like people will be talking about a movie that they're going to go and see and I'm like, that is a movie from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Because that's like for people who haven't seen it, it's a real like running trope in Seinfeld that they're always talking about some new movie that's coming out of the cinema, and the movie is always like insane.
Yeah.
And like so many movies that get made now, they are just the movies from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And I like can't, but also because so few people, particularly of like my generation in this country, have seen it, they don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so
do you think
there's
there's other
like
bits that have lasted though? Like say, I mean, there was time, you know, like say, you know, there's an episode which is essentially about masturbation, but they never say the word. And then they kind of say, they'll say, are you, because the idea is they have a competition about
master of your domain.
Yeah, exactly. Are you master of your domain? Meaning you haven't had a wank yet. And that's...
Which was the name of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And that bit, I think that's really lasted, right?
Yeah.
That way of speaking, and that bit is something that's still completely available to everybody.
Yeah.
And there's certain bits like even, I mean, I don't know if this is true, but sometimes I think it's true. Like when people go yada yada, like, I mean, obviously that's incredibly Jewish, but they were like using that in Seinfeld and it kind of spilt out.
Yeah.
Do you think there's other bits?
Well, something that's quite interesting is that when they were writing it, they every so often would like try to kind of push something as being a catchphrase, and it was never anything that took off. It was always like, okay, so we're going to say like sponge-worthy. That's going to be the catchphrase, and then it just sort of didn't go anywhere. And then things that ended up just being sort of pretty much kind of throwaway lines were what people actually ended up remembering. I still quote from Seinfeld in my day-to-day life, but I think there's something that's quite fun about watching it as a British person and just the incredibly different lens through which you see it, because here it is a cult show. You've only seen it if you are really, really into comedy. And so like the idea of it being this 76 million people all over America just being like, okay, well, it's 9 o'clock on a Friday night. Let's sit down with the family and the dog and watch Seinfeld. And I would be fascinated to know what someone in like the Midwest in the mid-90s is getting out of it.
But do you not think they're getting out like what we get, which is just, okay, these are 4 people that are friends, but they're not friends like the show. Do you know what I mean? Because Friends, the show, is like definitely aspirational. They all get together. They have love affairs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With this, these are 4 people that, I mean, I'm aware that like Elaine and Jerry did go out, but like, they're just mates that come back to each other, that are quite flawed, that can be pretty horrible. And we're all a bit more like that than we are like friends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there would definitely there'd be no The In-Betweeners, there'd be no The Office without Seinfeld, I think.
Yeah.
Because it sort of crystallized this type of relating to other people that it's not all I love you, let's hug.
Yeah.
It's
They banned that, didn't they?
Yeah, I will find your weak point and I will poke it.
Okay, so here at Talk 90s to Me, we get off on John F. Kennedy Jr. doing aerobics, and we like to have a pumping track list to accompany this. So we've made one on Spotify, the Talk 90s to Me mixtape. Okay, Milo and Phoebe, both of you, what are your 90s track? Okay, Phoebe, we're going to go with you first.
I'm going to go with Motorcycle Emptiness by the Manic Street Preachers.
Oh, I may weep.
We all do. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah. Were you a massive Manics fan?
Huge.
Did you like, Amika, what did you wear to indicate that you were a massive Manics fan?
Oh, goodness me. I had an collection of leopard print furry jackets.
Beautiful.
And a feather boa and a tiara. I've got some absolutely cracking pictures of me and a school friend dressed up in our regalia.
Yeah.
To go see him.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How lovely. And who was your preferred member of the Manic Street Preachers?
I was a Richie head.
No,
I know.
Now we may cry.
I know. It's a bad scene. For years, I was still banging that. I think he's still alive, and I've sort of got over that now.
Yeah, like Elvis.
Sort of.
I know it's like it's a minor
just
hope.
Like somewhere, I'm still a bit like maybe he is just living in Goa and everything is
Everybody
fine.
thought he was in Goa, didn't they?
Yeah,
He's hanging out with Lord Lucan.
Hanging
We
out with
have to
Lord
hope.
Lucan in Goa.
Yeah.
Goa, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Milo, what is your track?
Yes, I'm gonna represent the land of my birth, Essex, by picking a garage track.
Excellent.
Sweet Feeling and Attitude, Flowers.
Brilliant.
Is-
We love this too.
Yeah.
And
Classic
when was
banger.
that? Because I was slightly dubious. It is in the
99.
99.
Yeah, I fact checked myself.
Okay, in
I was-
99, when you were listening to that, what were you wearing?
What was I wearing? God, I mean, something picked by my mum, I would imagine. I would have been 6. So,
Oh, no, that's adorable.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Phoebe's like,
yeah.
no, it isn't.
Well,
my kids are young. No, it's not adorable.
My siblings are a lot older than me. So my youngest sister is 14 years older than me. And so when I was like a small kid, she had a serious boyfriend for a long time who was a real like Essex geezer Italian guy. And he was very into like UK garage pirate radio.
Excellent.
And he always had like a silly car. And he would like drive me around places.
More banging out the tunes.
I got this introduction into
thrilling.
like, and especially like later than that, all that stuff like Craig David and the Artful Dodger and all that sort of like that. That was really like an early formative musical experience for me.
That's. I mean, it's beautifully Essex. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
And I have to point out that you've literally got loafers and white socks on, and this
It's
is quite
perfect.
right.
Yeah. Honestly, it's so funny. We did a podcast once where we had a guy on to talk about the history of garage, and everything important that happened in garage happened in like Romford. And it's so funny. It's like, you've got to understand this one night in Romford. It's like never in the history of anything else is that said. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's lovely. Okay, right. That was Talk 90s to Me featuring the wonderful Phoebe Roy and Milo Edwards. Would you like to plug things? This is the plugging moment. What would you like to plug?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a podcast together
You do.
that used to be about Seinfeld, and you can still listen to all of those episodes that we did about Seinfeld. Good God, there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it's now, in a slight change of tone, it's about history.
Yeah.
Because we ran out of Seinfeld.
Phoebe, your face. You're like,
No. It's been a delightful shift. It's just a bit of an unusual one.
Yeah, we bring the same attitude to history that we did to Seinfeld.
Yeah,
but
we do.
we both have classics degrees,
Yeah.
and we have teamed up with a friend of ours who's a podcaster and actual ancient history academic. And we do, well, at the moment we're doing the 12 Caesars.
Yeah.
But discussing it in the same sort of tone that we used to discuss Seinfeld. So
I like
it
this.
was kind of trying to do a fun sort of dumb history podcast, but that's also quite well researched because one of us actually does know a lot about it.
Yeah.
And we sort of drag him down into our world.
into our pit.
Into the sort of disgusting oubliette that we inhabit.
He doesn't
Yeah.
make us better, we make him worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where can we find this? On all podcast platforms?
All podcast
Name?
On all podcast platforms. Yeah, it's still called Masters of Our Domain.
Yeah,
which
which is
is-
even better. You can apply that to everything. I
Yeah.
feel like once
Yeah.
you've got bored of ancient history, you can just shift it onto like, I don't know, contemporary politics. You can do whatever you like.
can
What
do
were the
whatever
12
we like.
Caesars if not masters of their domain?
Precisely.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Okay. For a fabulous book about 90s music that features absolutely no tracks with the slap bass line, why not try Uncommon People, Britpop and Beyond in 20 songs? You know about this because it's by me and you've heard it a million times. Okay. Subscribe to Talk 90s to Me on your podcast app. Join our Patreon for gorgeous merch and special extra episodes about stupid things like shoes. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky. See you next time.